Warning. The following podcast contains explicit language, honest opinions and a sense of humor. Welcome to the Brothers Take.
Hello everyone and welcome back to our podcast. I am Chris, joined by my brothers Adam and Eric.
Hello.
Eric, you're blurry.
I made the background blurry, yeah.
Sweet.
Nice.
And then if I'm blurry, scary. Ooh.
You spooky, ghostly bastard. We are back in the room to talk more about video games. And in this week's episode, to lead up to Halloween, we are going to be focusing on horror games and spooky, scary times.
Jinkies.
Jinkies. Yeah. It's like, what's the scariest thing you ever experienced? Scooby fucking do. Have you met me? I think before we actually get started into it, and as well, if we're talking about a particular game, we will throw up a spoiler warning if we plan on getting into spoilers about that specific game, because I feel like if you're setting up what scared you about a particular game, it's probably going to be spoiler, right? It's probably going to be a moment, because, you know, those jump scares or whatever would be the spoilers in a horror thing, because they're kind of like the twists. They're kind of the moments, right? They're the, oh, how did you feel about that moment when the one came out of the cupboard or whatever. So we'll give a heads up if we're going to go into any kind of spoilers. But it's just to preface this, we're not the biggest horror guys, are we? Well, I don't know.
Well,
Eric, you're actually pretty good at horror, aren't you?
oh yeah, man, I'm class. Like, I'd suck in real life, but yeah, in video games, class. Give me a gun and I'm great. Outlast,
Just horror as a genre in general, not even video games, movies, the whole lot.
I would try avoid them with movies.
Okay. Any particular
It's
reason?
like they're always following you, and you're just like,
Yeah. Scariest part about horror movies is that they follow me down dark alleyways and shit.
They won't leave me alone. I try to avoid them.
Like, It Follows. Terrifying. I never saw that. Did you see that? It Follows?
I have heard about it.
What is
Yeah.
that?
It's about this, now I could be totally wrong. I haven't watched it, but I remember looking it up. Horror fascinates me, but I'm a pussy. So that's basically it. But I think It Follows is like, it's this creature that takes the form of someone, and
Nice.
I think it's supposed to be like a big metaphor for like an STD or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's like, if you've had sex with a person who was cursed by it, then
It'll
it
follow
will
you
follow
instead.
you, and if it touches you, you'll die.
Yeah.
And the only way for you to save yourself is to have sex with someone else and pass it on to them.
This sounds like a remake of a. There's a film that came out in the 70s of something similar. Again, it was about the horror of STIs and stuff, and it was like little slugs that live inside you and turn you into like a zombie that just wants to ride all the time.
That's weird.
Yeah.
And
So people
on
just
what
pass
channel
on
did you
this
watch this
parasite.
at?
Yeah. What channel was it?
I've seen it in one of the Watch Mojo top
yeah,
tens
those
of some
top
sort. Yeah.
They're great videos for just like, if you're like, I would never watch these films, but at least now I'm getting the kind of gist of.
Now I know what it is about.
Yeah. So yeah, I suppose that it just goes to show we're not the biggest horror guys. We scare pretty easily, I think. So we might name games where we're like, oh, that's the scariest game I've ever played. And people might be like, you fucking pussies. And so if that's the case, do jump into the comments if you're watching this on YouTube to let us know how big pussies we are and what horror games we should check out and try and brave. And then if you're listening to us in audio platforms, you could also touch base on social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Brothers Take. So let us know any horror games you played, any scary experiences you've had, and also stuff you would recommend to us. Okay?
And for this month only, we take Ouija messages.
Yeah. You can also send. That sounds like a real thing. That sounds like an app you'd have. It's like, yeah, message me up on Ouija there, will you?
Fuck, we should do that.
Something hilarious. You know, like most people are like working off Zoom and stuff now.
Yeah.
You see the post that's going on? It's like, Zoom sessions are like a fucking seance. Because like the city's going to go, Zoe, are you there? Zoe, can you hear us? Zoe, if you're in the room, speak. You know, because
Yeah.
everyone always has their video off and they're like fucking muted and shit, or like the
Yeah.
signal's gone, so you don't know if anyone's there. So I think that's fucking hilarious. But anyway, let's cue the
So
music
relatable.
and let's talk scary horror shit. So let's jump into the episode. Before we talk about scary games, let's first give kind of our earliest account, or your earliest memory of experiencing horror. What do you think it
In
would
game
be?
or outside game?
Yeah, even outside game, like just horror as a genre, like your introduction to horror as a genre, and like,
Yeah.
because the funny thing about horror is like some people really gravitate towards it, like absolutely, like they just embrace it and they love it and they love to get scared by it. And then some people, it just really puts them off, and they're like, no, I think I avoided it for many years and only started to appreciate it in the last few years, maybe maybe the last 10 years, with appreciation growing more and
once
more.
it became a reality.
Yeah, once once my life became a horror story, I really embraced the silver linings. No, I'm joking. So yeah, do you guys, what would be like your earliest memory of an exposure to horror as a genre? Eric, 'cause I know you were very scared of horror as a child.
Yeah.
Who
I
isn't?
can't remember what was the one. I remember I was shit scared of zombies. That was
Yeah.
like my number one fear.
Yeah.
Although it still terrifies me.
That's
Zombies
an
are
alright
real.
fear to have.
Yeah.
Like poor
I
Chris
don't
is arachnophobic. Those are real.
Yeah. I so wish I was more afraid of zombies. Although during something like COVID, that might be fucking terrifying, because you're like, you got a global pandemic and you're like, oh shit, my worst fears are coming true. But
This will be
the
the year.
No, zombies are
Yeah.
real. They're just not the way you expect them to be. They're kind of just more really boring to talk to, which is even more terrifying.
They ain't got much to say.
They're kind of like you talk to one, you talk to them all. That's kind of the way it is. It's like, okay. Yeah, I can't remember what it was specifically that made me so terrified of them, but it was just the concept. I remember I used to have fucking nightmares. Like for 1 month straight, I had the same constant nightmare of being trapped in a very Victorian era looking Wexford. So
Wow.
it definitely wasn't Wexford, because how the hell was I supposed to know what the hell Wexford looked like back in the Victorian era? But it was something like that anyway. And the whole town was surrounded by zombies, and I was going around trying to save everyone I knew and everything, like my family and friends and shit. And like pretty much every time I got to somebody, they were always in a dead end, because you guys were idiots and went to dead ends all the time.
It sounds like a game. Dead End.
And the big class game probably already is. And then of course get to his turn around, there's a horde of zombies coming at me, and then that's when I'd usually wake up, because I'm not fucking sleeping during being ripped to shreds. Fuck that shit. But
Yeah.
that would be my earliest account of a horror experience, was nightmares.
Yeah. Nightmares are fucking weird, aren't they?
Yeah.
They are strange.
Well,
Yeah.
even dreams in general, they're so fucking bizarre.
Yeah.
To this day, it's like we're not totally clear on why they happen. We have a few theories.
Isn't
Brain
it?
just likes making up shit.
Isn't it? Going back to when we used to live, not us, but our ancestors used to live in the wild.
Do you remember when we used to live in the wild, lads? Do you remember that?
Like you wouldn't have the like protective walls and stuff like that, so you always had to be alert. It was your natural instincts to kind of always be alert of like predators and stuff like that.
How fucking annoying would that be though? Like, so you're you want to be alert, but then your mind is terrifying you instead of just having you alert.
No, you would be alert, but because we started like moving indoors, it's like
Right.
as if our genetics haven't caught up with that or some shit. So it's like making up shit.
Is that the reason it happens, or is that another?
Oh,
like,
that's a theory,
there's so
obviously.
many theories on why we dream. Like they even know, like there's like figured out where dreams originate or something in the brain, like where the functions of it and all are, but
Yeah.
just
That's 'cause
don't
you
know
can
why
see
we
it
actually
happening.
do it. Yeah, don't know
But
why we do it.
that kind of makes sense to me though. Like, because if you look at any other our cat there when she's sleeping, her tail is constantly tapping,
Yeah,
and that's like she is in a sleep state, but her body is still like aware of her surroundings.
yeah. I was gonna say our dog Pippin dreams, and you can see her
Yeah.
dreaming. You can see her eyes moving, and you could see her
Yeah.
like face wincing and stuff. She's like and her paws will move, and it's like as if I don't know she's running after something in the dream. I don't know. And if you wake her up suddenly, then she gets the biggest fright and like looks around like, "Where the fuck am I? What's going on? What the shit?"
I was not here 5 seconds
is-
ago.
This is not where I'm supposed to be. Adam, what's your earliest memory of an exposure to horror?
I think it's kind of hard to place all the events. I don't know whether it was Resident Evil 2, right? Because I actually did see that at a very young age.
Mm-hmm.
Or was it an episode of like Goosebumps or something when I was really young?
All right, yeah.
I can't remember which I saw first, but yeah, both of those things at a young age were terrifying.
Yeah,
Especially Resi. That's fucking
Resi.
hell. I remember when I watched that. It was like 9 at night in the winter, so like it's pitch black on this like tiny little CRT television.
yeah.
And then then walking home, which was literally just next door. But walking home was I bolted home.
Yeah. You look
that.
around there and you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah. We used to live out in the country as well, so there was no street lamps or anything. It was just
It's black, yeah.
you just had to rely on the moonlight to get home.
It's like, thanks, man. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
I really had a
That
great
game was
time.
class.
That
yeah.
game was fantastic. One day I might play a remake of this.
But I can't remember. I still haven't actually. I do have it, but I haven't played it.
No, this Halloween.
Yeah.
That's what you gotta do, man.
Yeah, definitely.
I gotta just give you a list of recommendations on what to do on Halloween.
Thank you for making my day plan.
No worries, man. No worries. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I can't remember what was the earliest. It was either that or some form of Goosebumps episode. I
Yeah.
think.
Well, I suppose like there's always like because there's horror influences and things like even like Scooby Doo, right? Now I'm not saying in any way Scooby Doo is scary, but you know it's child friendly. But it's playing on like old Universal monster movies and that kind of thing, right? So it you know there's horror aspects to it, spooky ghosts and vampires and that kind of thing. So like you're familiar with like monsters, I think, when you're growing up anyway, from cartoons or even like watching something like Gargoyles or these kinds of things. Like you're familiar with them. But I think my earliest exposure to actual horror in terms of like visuals and being like it's kind of creepy is probably the music video to Thriller by Michael Jackson. And actually even looking through the booklet of history, that.
Oh yeah.
And you see the artwork and the pictures of the zombies. They're really, really good. They didn't like cheap out on the quality of those zombies. They look fucking terrifying. Now I don't think I was scared by it, but I think that was my first exposure to like horror that's not really like downplayed.
Mhm.
It's actually kind of scary looking, and I was intrigued by it. But I don't know. I think the first thing to really scare me, and I don't know if it counts as a horror. I think someone told me it's like, man, that movie's a fucking comedy. Are you kidding me? Arachnophobia. I have no memory of that film whatsoever. I just know that at the age of 6 or something, or 5, I don't know, I watched it with you, actually. We were at our aunt's house.
Mhm.
And I don't know why that's the movie we watched. I don't know who. Did you want to watch it? I don't know who wanted to watch it.
Yeah, I suggested watching it.
You
I
bastard.
really, I was
Do you
really
have
fascinated.
any idea the lasting effects this had on me? Going to the shed to get a fucking tool is a fucking nightmare. I don't know. I cannot remember a single scene in that movie. But I know I haven't been able to look at a spider the same way since.
I'm pretty sure that's not a comedy. That is supposed to be a horror film.
Yeah, I don't know. You see, I have no idea. I just remember someone else told me. One of my mates said, "It's like, man, that film's not scary. Come on." And
I
was
mean,
like,
you could have been talking about Eight-Legged
so many
Freaks.
people
Eight-Legged
say
Freaks
that.
is a comedy.
yeah.
So many people say that about all kinds of things. You know, it's like, oh, this film is like scared the shit out of me, and they go, that's not even scary. It's a real thing. It's a hard thing to measure. Like, how do you measure what counts as scary? You know?
Yeah.
PT.
It totally depends on your side. Yeah, P.T. And we'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there. But I also actually want to say, since you mentioned Resident Evil 2, in terms of video games, Resident Evil 2 was the first horror game I ever saw as well.
Was it?
Yeah, I was in in primary school we were friends. You know, you go to secondary school, people go separate ways. And all that. But so I was at a friend's birthday party. We were in some estate. I can't even remember where it is even now. Like, and we were all in the sitting room. I remember we watched Spawn that night. I'd never seen Spawn before. And his parents were like, "Oh, do you want to watch Spawn? It's like X-Men." And we were like, "Cool, yeah, okay." So we watched Spawn, and we were eating pizza.
It's not like X-Men.
No, I know. I think they were just trying to say it's like a comic booky movie, you know? Like, I'd never even heard of Spawn yet. So we watched Spawn, and then afterwards, he was like, "Oh, let's play this scary game." And I actually didn't want it because it's such a pussy. And everyone else was like, "No, come on, it'll be cool." So we're playing Resi 2. Because I remember, and it was only later on I found out it was Resident Evil 2. Because for ages, I remember I remember playing a Resident Evil game, and I don't know which one it was, but you're like, I think you're in a hospital, and you're walking down a hall, and this big guy crashes down through the ceiling, and he's got like a trench coat and robot arms, right? Because that was my interpretation of the graphics and the scenery. But later on, I found out what it actually was that's the police station. You're going down the corridor, and it's Mr. X with his trench coat on, you know. But yeah, even though like the graphics are obviously and like the acting is nowhere like what it's like now, I remember being really fucking nervous about it, and like really like, well, I don't like this. I think everyone else was sleeping over, and I don't think I did. I think I got Mom to pick me up. I was really creeped out by Resi 2. They played for the rest of the night, I think.
The fucking scene in The Matrix scared the shit out of me too. You know that scene in the first one when his mouth begins to seal open
or
the
belly button thing?
Yeah, well, not even just the belly button was kind of okay. It's the when the mouth begins to meld together.
Oh, the belly button thing freaked me out way
that
more.
image, yeah, the whole scene anyway.
The whole scene is horrible. Yeah. And being caught in like this room with these men, and that's all scary. Anyway, so I think as you can tell by listening to us, we get scared easy. You know, goosebumps, blocky PS1 graphics. Matrix scenes, like we're not we're not the bravest people. So actually, since me and Adam mentioned the first horror game we ever remembered experiencing, which was Resi 2.
Well, for me it was Resident Evil 4.
Yes, which is the first one. I think Resident Evil 4, and we did say it before on the episode. We did a whole episode on Resident Evil 4, so you could check it out. But we all did say that one kind of opened us up to the genre of horror a lot more. And I would say like even like I wouldn't give horror movies a chance nearly before that. Like there was a couple ones where it's like there's horror aspects again, like Blade, you know, like
sure. There's
horror aspects, but it's not a horror movie. And then later on down the line I gave horror movies a go. So without further ado, let's get into the main discussion, right? So there's two questions we're going to ask today. One of them is, what is your favorite horror game? And I'm looking forward to the different ways you can interpret that question. Okay. You're like, well, okay, so out of the horror games, which is my favorite game, or which is my favorite horror game?
Yeah,
like,
that's exactly what I was going to.
so
but I think you've already split it up though in a way that, you know, I think it's going to make sense.
Yes. Okay. So why don't we go with the two of that question first, and then if we have time, we'll also then throw in at the end what's the scariest horror game we've ever played.
Yeah.
Which might not be the same thing. You know what I mean? Like there's different.
Yeah. Because that's how I was going to interpret the question.
Yeah. So I think
which one is my favorite to play or favorite not to play because it's so scary?
Yeah. So Eric, do you get what we mean by that? Or
I think I do. I think when Adam said that last point, yeah. So
it's like, okay, so you
can
list out the horror games that you've played, right? And then of them, you can go, well, that one is like my favorite game, but not because of any of the horror elements. It's just it's of those like that would be my favorite game to play out of them.
Oh, out of that choice, and then
right. Then out of the horror games you've played, you could also say this was my favorite one because of its horror. Like it does horror the best, almost. You know that way?
Yeah.
It's like, and that could be the same game. It could be. I don't know.
Okay.
So, Adam, let's come to you first.
Okay.
Because you haven't played any.
What? What? What?
What?
I may not have completed them, but I've.
Whoa!
What? Favorite would be Resident Evil 4. Definitely.
Favorite horror game would be Resident Evil 4.
Yeah.
Why, man? Come on, why? Why not?
I've we've talked about it how fantastic the game is.
Yeah.
I've definitely played it the most out of like all the different horror games that I would have played. It got me into the horror genre. It's the first Resident Evil I've touched and played since seeing Resi 2. Like when I saw Resi 2 as a kid, I avoided the Resident Evil games because of like the traumatic experience of running home on my own in the dark. But playing Resident Evil 4 then, connected me back to that kid, and now I just had to run home scared in the daylight.
Yeah, and daylight was scary too.
Yeah, so it just brought a new sense of horror. Daytime can be scary too.
Yeah.
But so many games benefited from Resi 4 afterwards because we got then the over-the-shoulder shooting, which was introduced then into things like Dead Space, Gears of War, and even the Uncharted games, and Metal Gear. The weapon customization was so fun. The actual collecting stuff was great. And it was a bit like the Resident Evil films in some way, where it's like, yes, there's horror, but then there's like this over the top, like ridiculous action
shit. Yeah.
Which can kind of help and ease you because there are moments that are scary in the game. Like there's just I can't say no one's gonna say there's no part in the game that isn't scary because the fucking regenerators.
There's some badass out there is gonna go, I can.
I mean those regenerators.
Like, the regenerators though. Like how can you go? Oh yeah, they're fine. Like
yeah, it's grand. It's okay.
Yeah. Like sure, the rest of the game maybe. Like I think like the Ganados at the beginning are pretty uneasy, but when you get to like the castle and the island, I think the scariness of them dies down like a lot.
Oh, the villagers are definitely scariest.
But then they introduce things like the two kind of, I don't know what you call them, like the sentinel bodyguards of Salazar.
Yeah, like the alien predator yokes.
Yeah. Like they're scary because they're like invisible and shit. Then you have like the blind guys who run after you, and you have to use like the bells to distract them.
That's right.
And then the regenerators, like they are, just I think they've balanced. Okay, now you're feeling like a badass. Here's a moment now to bring it back to reality, like scare shit out of you.
Yeah.
But I played the shit out of that game. Like I played that game so much, and I played different versions of it too. So I've got like the Wii version, for example, which I thought was a really, really great version of that game. And it's been ported probably more than Skyrim, which I'm surprised no one has ever complained about. But like it has been. Like that's more consoles than Skyrim is.
And it's gonna be day one PS5. No, Joe.
Could be.
It could be. It is a great game. You know what's really funny? Not funny. It's kind of weird. So Resident Evil 4, absolutely at its time was a horror game, right?
Yeah.
But now there's debates. Like I would class it absolutely as a horror game. But there are debates as to whether it's more of an action game than it is a horror game, just because of what horror has done now. Like if you have the action genre, even for movies, you know, if the action intensifies in later movies because of what they can pull off, it doesn't negate the fact that earlier action movies are still action movies. You know what I mean? Whereas with horror movies, because they're genuinely getting scarier to the point where now if you go back and watch like an old 70s horror movie and you can go, oh, that's kind of cheap and this isn't really that scary. And suddenly you're like, it's not really like The Evil Dead. You're like, is it even a horror movie anymore? Like, has horror come so far that it negates earlier horror, or does it still count as horror? It's just kind of funny because it's like, is the level like, does the horror genre purely rely on the fact of is it scary?
Well,
It's just an interesting one.
yeah, I know, but you can kind of apply that to everything, can't you? Like, I mean, even like metal music, for example. If you listen to metal now versus metal in the 80s,
Is it still metal?
like metal in the 80s sounds like pop now in comparison. Like,
Right.
well, back then that was like
Yeah.
radical. That was different.
Well,
And
do you know what the metal and horror thing? Because they've gone hand in hand in some ways as
Yeah.
well. But that's a good comparison. But it doesn't necessarily translate across all genres because, like, okay, so again, if I go back to like movies, like, there's no point where like a sci-fi movie, just because everything has gotten better, you go back and go, that's not sci-fi, fucking robots that don't
well,
look
actually,
like really good robots.
I have done that. Like,
Yeah.
you know, growing up, I was so convinced Star Wars was sci-fi, and now looking back, it's not sci-fi.
It's sci-fi. No.
It's
a
disguised as
fantasy.
sci-fi. It's a fantasy.
Yeah.
Oh no, I know that.
Yeah.
I know that. But
No,
most
I-
sci-fi
yeah.
is, right?
No, no. Like, if you take proper sci-fi, like Blade Runner and
Whoa.
even the likes of Prometheus and the Dune that's supposed to come out, like that's
Yeah.
sci-fi. That's proper sci-fi.
Oh, yeah, that's a really that's like a dangerous quote to say on the internet. You know that if you take proper sci-fi as opposed to Star Wars,
Yeah, but I think that's why Star Wars is so palatable. Like, it's not.
it's a
I mean,
fantasy more so.
Sci-fis are a way more niche, I think, than people think.
Right. Yeah.
I'm
Anyway,
surprised you didn't say Star Trek there at all. Out of all the options you could have chosen, Star Trek is like the sci-fi.
Yeah, that's.
Or
sci-fi.
one of the big sci-fi. What do you mean that's kind of
Yeah,
sci-fi?
yeah, yeah. No, it's-
yeah, I just don't. I forget about that all. I don't even know that that's real.
What do you mean about Star Trek?
Star Trek. People love Star Trek, man. They're so
Star Trek.
passionate about it.
Yeah.
What's going on? There's fucking dogs barking in the background.
Yeah, dogs are barking.
Hey, happy days. That usually means something scary or evil is going on. Good stuff. Okay, so
But I get what you mean, because if I went back to Resident Evil 2 now on PlayStation 1,
yes, that's
there's
what,
absolutely no way I would like.
No,
You
it
know,
wouldn't be
the only thing that's-
scary. It would just be stressful.
Yeah, the only thing that'd be scary about that game is like how the controller doesn't seem to function like it should. Like, that's terrifying.
yes, yeah. But like, yeah. But yeah, it's a good point because it's kind of like when the first Resident Evil came out, which is kind of considered the grandfather of horror games, right? Like they kind of look at that as the one that kind of, even though there probably is earlier horror games than that, but that one kind of did to the horror genre in gaming what Metal Gear Solid might have done to the whole action genre of gaming, right?
Yeah.
It's just like this pinnacle game. And when it first came out, like, it was terrifying, really scary. And if you try to play that game now, and I'm not trying to bash Resident Evil, right? It's got a fantastic legacy, but I mean, that voice acting is so unbelievably bad. It's really fucking B-movie shit. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
Jill,
Wow.
you were nearly a Jill sandwich. Yeah, it's fucking
Fantastic.
terrible.
What are you talking about?
But I think there's like
$5.
like trying to figure out like, well, okay, what would classify as horror? And if you look at a lot of those like famous horror games, even Silent Hill as well, they and the first person kind of running around trying to survive ones, they're puzzle games.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's probably the thing with Resident Evil 4 is that although it still has puzzles, they're like really lame puzzles. They're like Uncharted style puzzles. They're so easy to solve in comparison to some of the other ones. Like, trying to solve a puzzle while also trying to survive, I think, is probably
The most stressful experience of my life.
well, it's probably the definition of horror, maybe.
Right. Trying to
Maybe.
think your way out and survive.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is
Like-
that so? Is Resident Evil 4 the answer to both those variations of that question?
Oh, which
Is it
one's
your
my
favorite horror game and your favorite horror game?
so my favorite horror game that succeeds at being incredibly scary?
Yeah.
So will we
What's-
come back to that one then? Like, is it just it's your favorite game of the horror games you've played?
Yeah, it's my favorite.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
yeah,
let's come back to the other one then. Okay, so
Yeah.
Eric,
Yes.
what would be your favorite game of the horror games you've played?
Probably would be either Resident Evil 2 on the basis of it's so fun to replay that because
Yeah.
it's so quick. It's so
Yeah.
quick and easy to replay, and it's so rewarding to replay. And then there's also that kind of, all right, let's try figure out Mr. X. You know, like there's that kind of idea and stuff like that. You know,
Yeah.
maybe
Yeah.
the two different characters play as whatnot. That or actually probably, maybe Evil Within 2.
Wow, I wasn't expecting that at all. You prefer Evil Within 2 to the first one? Is it because of how it plays?
Yeah, and it's because I don't have to put up with that spider lady bitch.
Oh god, she's scary.
That's
Okay,
just
let's.
that. She gets real fucking. She gets like that game gets ridiculously hard.
Yeah.
Like not even like, oh my god, this is so on edge. It's just like this is ridiculous. Like go
Yeah.
away.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
kind
not
of a
even
boring challenge. As opposed
Yeah,
to,
that this is challenging because the enemies take a lot of bullets to kill and they're like
Yeah.
ridiculous.
I definitely experienced that with the first one. Definitely.
Yeah. While Evil Within 2, the enemies don't necessarily have that boring challenge of difficultness, but it does have its scary aspects, while also having better voice acting.
It
Somewhat
does
of a
have that.
better
The presentation as well is
the
fantastic.
presentation is better. The story, the
Yeah.
motivation of the story is way better and hits home more. Not that I have a child that was abducted by a secret organization of world dominating people, but like
I could.
it could happen.
happen. Come on, let's not weigh out possibilities.
There's still hopes and dreams here. I mean,
Okay, so let's actually talk Resi 2 for a minute then,
Okay.
which we have talked about before because I do believe it was your favorite game of last year.
yes.
That be right? Yeah, it was right.
Yeah.
And I had it at number 2 only because my only issues again with it was the structure of the narrative.
Right.
That's
yeah.
my only issue. Had it not been structured that way, it absolutely would have been my favorite game of last year. And I do hold it with high esteem. Resident Evil 2 is incredible. What they did with that remake, the lighting, the atmosphere, it's fucking, those zombies are fucking terrifying.
Yeah.
I can't wait not to play it, and so far I've been achieving that.
You know what? It's not that bad.
What did we just say? What did we just say?
We did just say it's fucking terrifying, but no, do you know what? Like, it's just, I don't know. I think if you're ever at any point, it's kind of a weird one. Like, I consider myself a fan of the Resident Evil franchise, even though like I haven't played them all, and I don't have like this deep desire to play them all or know everything about every game or anything like that.
Yeah, but it's the concept and
There's
setup
just
and stuff.
there's something about the Resident Evil.
Well, you played the discount versions through the Umbrella Chronicles and Dark Side Chronicles.
Yeah, and I enjoy the lore and stuff like that as well, and some of what goes on in it. But Resi 2, that like playing it in a remake and playing such great graphics, but then having those like what have become now iconic characters, Leon and Claire and Ada's in there and Mr. X, who, I had flashbacks of when he, okay, so spoiler alert, but I think everyone has seen the clip on YouTube at this point because everyone was watching like reaction videos to it and stuff. But when he just first moves that helicopter, it walks towards you. And I suddenly had flashbacks to PS1 blocky graphics and what I used to describe as a man in a trench coat with robot arms, which is not what it is like. But that's just how I interpreted it. And I always remember, I was like, I don't know what that game was, but there was this guy with a trench coat in a hospital with robot arms. I'm totally wrong.
Do you think Resident Evil 2, the remake, is more impactful after playing, like growing up or at least experiencing the original as a kid, being shit scared of it?
I think probably. I kind of wish I had a better, because I can't say, like, my only experience playing the original Resident Evil 2, was that night,
Mm.
and not even knowing that it was Resident Evil 2, only finding that out later on. So I can't say like, oh, I was such, that game meant so much to me and I grew up with it, and wow, the remake was so nostalgic for me. Like, I remember fuck all from it. So I didn't really have that, but I did have this kind of like, wow, look, like that scared me when it was blocky, and now look at it.
Mm-hmm.
And look at what they've achieved. So I did have that. And then I suppose I just had this, like, from playing Resident Evil 4, and then from playing like the Umbrella Chronicles and the Dark Side Chronicles and stuff, and seeing some of the events of Resi 2.
Yeah.
But now seeing it like properly reimagined, I definitely had this like, wow, this is insane kind of vibe from it. And also just some of the stuff that you'd seen in movies, and you weren't even sure in what game were they ever introduced, right? Because like I watched all the Resident Evil movies. I was familiar with Lickers, had no idea at what point they came into the Resident Evil series. Resi 2 is when they were introduced.
Yeah.
And oh my god, are Lickers terrifying. Because you're like, okay, so you're coming to this hallway, and there's a liquor above you. It's not even like set up with a cutscene. It's just above you.
Oh, they don't?
No, no, they're just
'Cause
there.
In the original, like,
I know they
that
actually
is a
have
cutscene,
it's
yeah.
a cutscene, right? But no. This is
And I
more.
remember that. I remember like vividly. Like that was so scary.
I remember seeing. I don't even know where I saw.
That's where I checked out. You know,
Yeah,
that's where I was like, yeah, I'm going home. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm
No,
going home.
this-
Man. Fuck that shit. Look at the length of that guy's tongue. Fuck that. I don't know where I first saw that cutscene. The liquor. It could have been a Watch Mojo, like top
Yeah.
10, kind of thing. Like I don't know where I first saw it, but I remember I've
That's two
seen the.
shout-outs to watch.
Yeah. Go watch Mojo, guys. Everyone does, right?
Everyone,
watches
yeah, who
Watch
hasn't watched
Mojo
that?
clips. If you haven't, come on. What are you doing watching us? No, wait. Please watch us. But the way the liquors are done in this one, because it's like they're so fast as well, and they will follow you for a long time if they catch wind of you. So you can't run with them, but then at a point when Mr. X comes into the game and the liquors are still around, you have to run to get away from him if he sees you, because he comes at you fast. But then if you get into a hallway where you're not supposed to run when there's a liquor, and it's like, oh god, I'm fucking cornered.
Are they much like the ones in Resi 5?
I would say Eric is frozen, is he? Eric, you frozen?
Yeah. Oh my god, he's been taken.
Holy shit. He's turned into a ghost man. Eric, can you even hear us?
Maybe
like-
he's actually.
Are you ready? It's the seance. Eric,
Have you come back?
hey, we're
You're back.
man. We're back. Hey.
Yeah, no, I was fine. I could hear you the whole time.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah, you were just like a freeze frame. It's gonna look terrifying when this is edited together.
Yeah,
I was like,
it's like, Eric's gone to boil the kettle. He just put a cutout of himself.
yeah, he was like we was getting flashbacks of like how scary it was. He was like, yeah, I'm cutting out here. Yeah, fine, I'm gone. That was actually like our Zoom joke. It was a seance.
Yeah. I remember in Resi 5, like when you come to that hallway, which was such a cool moment for such a kind of, well, it's an alright game. It's, it's certainly one of the weaker Resi games, but that when you come to that hallway and you see the lickers and you have to walk slowly past them, and if you alert them, you're gone. You're fucked. Unless you have like better weapons and stuff, but you're fucked.
Yeah.
Are they like that?
It's similar.
Yeah.
It's certainly similar. I mean, I was playing on the easiest difficulty because, like, I established earlier on I'm a pussy. So I was like, if I'm going to get myself into trouble, I want to be able to survive this trouble. But yeah, no, they're pretty intense. But the game went to places I wasn't expecting as well. Really, really cool. I actually preferred the game, I think, when you even leave the police station. The police station is cool, but and I think it's everyone's favorite part of the game. But there's other areas that you go to. It's really interesting. It's really good. And there's a fucking awesome bit. Again, spoilers. But there's an awesome bit where you get to play as Ada, and I loved it, even though it was kind of stressful. It was just a really cool moment where it takes you away from Leon for a few moments, and you're playing as... And Ada's character in it is so cool. She's so cool. You're so like, oh, I don't know what your intentions are and who you're with. And well, you kind of, if you're familiar with the character, you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I know you can't be trusted.
Oh, very well.
But it's such a cool fucking dynamic between her and Leon. Or you're like, she likes him, but she's also playing him, but she kind of likes him, and it's fucking cool.
So is it like obviously knowing their path in 4, Is it like hinting towards that type of dynamic, that kind of relationship?
Oh, big time. And like I think we all know, and we did talk about it before, but you know, a Resi 4 remake, much like the Metal Gear Solid remake, it's not a case of will it happen? It's a case of when, right?
Yeah.
It's going to happen. Because in this new age of remakes and things, these kind of classic games that were like big key marks in gaming history are going to get remakes. Because they have just proven that they do sell. They're incredibly successful, and they're contenders for Game of the Year sometimes. You know, so it's a matter of time. That Resi 4 remake will happen. The question is there going to be a Code Veronica? You know, and we asked that before, but that's the question. Is there going to be a Code Veronica in between, or are they going to just jump straight to 4? Who knows? So Eric, off to 2 then. Do you know which one? Sorry, I went off on Resi 2 for a while there.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. It's good. It's a good game.
I didn't even talk about it.
Yeah, come on. Yeah, what do you think about it, man?
Out of since Chris has spoken everything to do with the game, is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, fucking hell. Sorry.
No, you pretty much covered it.
How long did it take you to play it the first time? Actually,
It's like how what do you think? What do you think? Actually, let me tell you.
Tell me what you think. Let me just ask you this.
It took me between 7 to 8 hours to clear it the first time because of the amount of time I spent in safe rooms trying to study Mr. X's movements, and then finding out you can't do that. You can't tell the difference between when he's upstairs and not. His feet are so fucking loud.
Yeah. And then when he finds it, it's kind of like Terminator music.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, he's stressful.
Great. It's great, Adam. It's actually not that scary or difficult. It's good.
Yeah, I believe you.
If you were able for Resi 4, you're well able for this game.
Yeah.
No way.
You should have
Honestly.
me play with you as well, because I'll tell you when he shows up and doesn't show up.
Oh, Eric I have to say, if anyone, Eric's a fantastic guy. Like, I don't know how many times have you cleared that game, because he knew it off. He was like, wait, stop. Okay, turn left, go there. Yeah, like,
I
crazy.
cleared it on every difficulty as both characters through both types of playthroughs.
Wow.
So that would be
Did you platinum it?
6 times? No, I have not platinumed it.
Have you got much to get to platinum, or?
I think so. I think I have a few trophies left. I always get that like really close to platinum, and then it's kind of like, you know what? Those real finicky trophies, I'm just not arsed, so I just don't.
Yeah, but it was like the Matrix. Like Eric was like the guy in the chair, you know. It was like that. And Mr. X was like the agent. It was fantastic.
That would be
but
a
also,
great game.
Yeah. Wow. Avoid the agent.
Yeah, but like
a
two-player.
co-op experience where someone has to tell you
someone
where
has
to,
to like someone can see,
they can see
the
where the
overhead
enemy
map.
is, but you can't.
You can't, and then you have to follow their instructions.
Someone greenlight the fuck out of this. What the fuck? That'd be so good. Yeah, and the person who's playing overhead just like has a controller and a microphone, but the other person is playing in VR.
Yeah, so it's like
How fucked up would that be?
there is a game like that, similar to it, where it's like similar concept. Was it something about exploding? God, what's the name of the game? But like basically, the person in the headset has to disarm a bomb, but everyone else on the couch obviously can see the TV, and they have the instructions to disarm the bomb, and they have to try and explain how to. Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the game though. Yeah, it's a cool concept. There should be more shit like that.
That is, yeah. And you know what? Like, they're talking a lot in the next gen. They're talking a lot about like more interactivity, I think, and a lot more like group play. And like you can see, even a lot of the games that are coming out, they're really pushing this idea of like online co-op and online multiplayer and stuff. So I think that's going to come up more and more. What are you laughing at, Eric? It is. I'm not shitting myself. I'm telling the truth.
Yeah, that's no problem, man.
Yeah, okay, man. So of those two, do you think
That's the problem. You're not shitting yourself.
of those two, which one do you prefer then? Or do you know?
I don't. I'll probably say Resident Evil 2, to be honest.
Wow.
I think the Evil 1 and 2 gets to a point where maybe it just drags out a little bit longer, and I think it's then when it comes back to a replay value, it's a bit like there's not as much to unlock, there's not as much to do differently or to experiment. It's very much quite a linear journey, and once you kind of clear it, you're like, grand, I did that, and I'm not going to play this game on hard difficulty because fuck that. But Resident Evil 2, it's so experimental and so quick and easy just to just turn it on, get going, play it, and it's just good crack. Great with a chip.
Yeah, there's not much of a setup, is there?
No.
It doesn't really ease you in.
Straight into it. It's great.
I can't wait.
You really have me sold on it. No, but you know what? What's great about it? By the time I got to the end of it, I could see the kind of the action franchise that's in there, that's been in Resident Evil from the very beginning. The whole action thing is still there, but you could also, it's also this is definitely a horror game. Yeah. This is it's also scary.
It follows the classic Resident Evil trope. Even Resident Evil 4, it starts off terrifying, but as it goes on, it becomes more action-packed because you get better weapons, you're better, you're more skilled, and then you're fighting more action-y style enemies. You're in the secret facility or the military base at the end of it. And it does become an action movie by the end of it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It's just great.
It's great. For me, I think there's not much I could add because I think it's probably Resident Evil 4 as well. And I don't know if that's I could be just a sucker for nostalgia. Where it's oh, my favorite game is Final Fantasy 7 and nothing will beat it because it's the first game I ever played. Or Metal Gear Solid is another one, and then it's it doesn't matter what leaps or bounds people make. It's just maybe I'm just stuck in my ways. I don't know. So Resident Evil 4 was the first horror game I ever, well, it's not the first one I ever experienced because that was the original Resi 2, but that I've seen all of and that I played for myself. Was Resi 4. But I still think it does everything remarkably well. And Leon is a great character, and I when we talked about that game, in its own episode, we talked about how there was Metal Gear Solid isms to it, and for me it helped me get into it, and then it broadened my mind to some of the interesting things that horror has, such as scary visuals, scary locations, atmosphere, that kind of thing. It hits all the tropes, It's got the creepy Transylvanian castle, but it's also got the creepy woods and the shacks and people going missing and scary villagers and cults and monsters, and it just hits every box, I think, and it finds a way of bridging it onto this fantastic story. So Resi 2 is up there for sure, but I do think Resi 4 takes it for me. I think it's my favorite horror game. But I do want to give a little shout out to, and again, we won't need to talk about it all that much. We have talked about it before many times, and more recently we've mentioned it quite a few times. But Until Dawn is another one that I really love. I find that one really easy to play. I find it so fun to jump into. It's another one that finds a way of interweaving all these horror tropes into one story that really clicks by the end of it. I don't know how scary it is in general, but the first time I played it, I was scared.
I was on edge. Yeah,
I was on edge for it. Yeah. Now, at this point, there's no part of it that scares me anymore.
No.
But that's kind of if you get used to watching a horror movie and you know where all the jumps are, I think after a while you're just not scared of it. You just maybe you just enjoy it, and that's where I am now. I just enjoy playing Until Dawn. Resident Evil 4 still puts me on edge at moments, but that's more the stress of the gameplay, I think. Do you know what I mean? You don't really have that in.
Anyone with a bag on their head running at you with a chainsaw, how can you ever get used to that?
Yeah, I don't know what it is about it, but it's just kind of fucking terrifying. Even when you just hear the sound of it, and you're going, no, I'm okay, actually. Find yourself, Ashley. Find your fucking self. I would definitely be ringing up the president going, man, this operation is fucked. This is fucked up, man. Send some. I know you sent one lad in a chopper a few hours later, but send serious backup. Nuke this fucking town. These people are fucked up. this is serious shit, like. I love he just stays. I was always just calling Hunnigan. Hunnigan, I don't know what's going on. I'm going to check it out. I'd be like, no, wait, fuck this shit. I'm not getting paid enough for this. This is horrible. I saw a fucking crocodile the size of Moby Dick. This. I quit. Anyway, so yeah, those are the Resi series is anyway taking the top spot for us. Probably not much of a surprise anyway. Like the series has endured. I kind of wish I had played, because I feel like I'm always really interested in Silent Hill.
Yeah.
But too scared to play them. I definitely was when I was younger. I don't know what it was. Silent Hill fascinates me because just the name just makes me think. Like, I just assumed that those PS1 games were the scariest thing ever. And so I just shouldn't try them. I just assumed. Even I remember the movie. I remember seeing, like, do you remember when Extravision was around?
Yeah.
I remember going down to, like, rent a movie for Halloween. And it was the Halloween that we actually, like, we used to always rent fucking... To be honest, we rented stupid films for Halloween, like really not scary movies at all that had kind of a monster in it. And it was like, oh, look, that'll do. And it's really spooky and Halloweeny. But like you watch it at 6 p.m. and it's not that scary. And everyone else is watching real horror movies. And you're like, I'm fine. I'm just watching Monsters, Inc. But I remember one year, and actually it was my mate Ronan Barnes in primary school who taught me how to swim. But he was really into like horror and like bigger stuff and more kind of R-rated kind of shit. And he was like introducing me to stuff. And he was like, you should try out like a real horror movie this Halloween, right? And I was like, I don't know which one to try. And I remember going into Extravision and I seen Silent Hill, right? And again, no idea what that film was actually like. So it's probably funny for people to hear that now, because if you like, that film's not that scary. It's actually okay to watch. But just seeing the cover, just assuming that's the scariest film ever. Fuck that. That's based on that fucking terrifying fucking game. That's terrifying that I've never played. So no. So I picked up Dog Soldiers. It was the year I think me and Adam watched it.
Yeah.
I don't think Eric. I don't think Mom let Eric watch it.
I was with a friend and we watched Monsters Inc.
Right? Okay. It's a safe Halloween one. Get the Skittles out and watch Monsters Inc. So
I was annoyed. I wanted to watch Dog Soldiers.
Yeah, you know, you would have added werewolves to that list of zombies.
Yeah. And do you know what? That's a great movie.
It's a fantastic film. Yeah.
It's a fantastic movie that I was way more scared of than I should have been the first time.
Yeah, but you
That
see,
movie
I think like, yeah, it's actually fine, and here we go again. It's not that scary, but like, again,
it's different.
When we first watched it, and the age that we watched it, and there's something about watching it on Halloween night.
Yeah.
And behind us, right, we had like the blind. There was no curtains. We just had a blind, and it was a really windy night, and there was a tree just outside. Like, when that blew past, you could see the shadows from the street lamp behind you and stuff, and you could see it on the wall. And the whole film is based around like werewolves hunting people through a forest. It was just like there was nothing going for us that night. Like everything was trying to spook us.
It was, and actually, you've reminded me, like, because I watched that movie a good few times. It's a great movie. And I remember the next time I watched it was actually at my friend Lee's house. And we were watching it. And the thing is, like, the werewolves look a bit strange. They don't look like wolves. They look more like, and may she rest in peace, but Lee's old family dog, Lady, they kind of looked like her. She was what are they called? I can't remember. But we were watching the movie. We were watching the movie. And I just feel breathing on the back of our necks, right? And we turned around, and I shit you not, because he tells the exact same story. Lightning struck, right? As we turned, and Lady's face was just staring at us. And we fucking shat ourselves. It was fucking terrifying. But then it was class, because the next day we got toy guns and we played Dog Soldiers, and it was a great movie. But jeez, I went off on a tangent there. Anyway, Resident Evil series, Happy Days class. So now that we're talking about spooky, scary stuff, let's what's then our favorite horror game in terms of it actually being terrifying?
Well,
There's so many.
I have two. I have.
Or is that just a question of what's the scariest game you've ever played?
Yeah.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Let's jump into that. What is this? What do you think is the scariest game you've ever played?
It's between Dead Space, first one. But that was also a great game. Actually, the one thing I really love about horror games is getting scared the first time and then playing it again to master my fear.
Right. Yeah.
You play Resident Evil 4 and play it again to try go, right, well, this is the stuff that scares me. Let's try get to the point where this doesn't scare me. Same with Resident Evil 2. Let's try make Mr. X be my little bitch. And then with Dead Space.
Making like, Mr. X my little bitch.
Yeah, it's like Arnie at the end of Predator just slapping mud on himself.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take you on.
Like, putting lines under his eyes and shit and just like... But actually, no, you raised an interesting point because you're no longer afraid of zombies, are you?
Oh, well, I sure still wouldn't want to meet one, like, but yeah.
No, but you actually enjoy zombie movies and zombie games now.
Yeah.
Whereas I still wouldn't play a game if there's spiders in it.
You need to face your fear, Chris.
If they kept the giant spiders in Resident Evil 3, yeah, I would be dreading that moment. Absolutely.
Well, I have to say, right, actually, just because, we were talking about, like, the PS1 blocky graphics, and we're like, you go back now, it's not that scary. The spiders are fucking terrifying. They're still really scary, even in PS1 it's like they just fucking... Like, they just took a picture or they stop motion the tarantula and they just superimpose. It's like everything else. They literally spent all of their money in terms of graphics on the spider. They're like, the zombies are just fucking squares and triangles. But the spider looks like a genuine spider on your screen just fucking crawling up the
all I can imagine is, when, like, you see, like piss take B movies and it's like, it's like, oh my god, look at that creature. And it would just, like, be stock footage of like a nature program style animal, like it's not even on set.
Yeah. No, but you guys know what I'm talking about, right? Have you seen those clips of like the PS1 spiders?
I remember you and Adam playing Umbrella Chronicles, going down.
Oh yeah, that was hilarious. That was so funny.
Chris saw a little web in the corner, and he was like, "Oh, that's it. This is the spiders down." I was like, "No."
Here's the thing. When we played Umbrella Chronicles, I did not know that there were spiders in the Resi series. Full stop.
Well, because you were saying that. Yeah, this is when the spiders are going to come.
I hadn't realized that. I just saw a web and said, "There's going to be a spider."
Yeah.
I just felt it in my blood. I was like, "There's going to be a spider." Then we turned and there was 3 huge ones, and it was way worse than I was expecting.
Chris, I was like, "Bring the house down, cursing every curse in the book while fucking shooting."
I think I killed them all myself as well because I think Adam was just busy laughing.
Yeah. It was so fucking funny.
They are scary though. And then I remember there's like a snow mission in that game. Like you end up in like Alaska or something for like this made up snow mission.
No, you go in at the end of Code Veronica. You do go to Antarctica.
No. But there's a made up.
Chris, you should see. I'm just looking them up, right? You should see the ones in like the Resident Evil HD remaster.
That's the one he's talking. I think he's thinking of.
Aren't they scary?
I thought you were talking about. Oh yeah. They're fucking
terrifying. That's what I'm saying.
They're just real. They're real images of spiders. But like, I'm just looking at the PS1 versions, and I think it's the coloring.
It is, and the way they move. The way they move is so fucking scary.
Yeah.
Like even like if you look at footage of like Resi 3 Spiders Clock Tower. Oh, holy shit. And I was like, if they're going to be in the HD remake, I am never even fucking installing that game. Fuck me. I'm just going to go, well, they successfully scared me.
I'll get it, play it, clear it, and let you know.
Oh, I see it. Oh, yeah.
You see that? Oh, fuck that shit, man. But so you do the 3 games in Umbrella Chronicles, right? You do Resi 1, Resi 3, and then Code Veronica is in Dark Side Chronicles. So in the Umbrella Chronicles, they have a made-up story at the end that you do. Yeah, this made-up mission that's in, I don't know, I think it's Russia, actually. Some snow place. And I was like, happy days. There's no spiders in the snow. But they put them in anyway. They put these huge tarantulas climbing up the side of it. And I was like, oh, what the fuck? What the fuck is this? So fuck off. Same, remember Skyrim? You're like, frostbite spider. Oh, come on. They didn't put in a fucking frostbite mosquito. This is fucking horseshit. But you know what? They're cool.
Yeah, frostbite butterfly.
Yeah, give me that frostbite butterfly. That'd be fucking terrifying as well. Imagine a giant butterfly.
Any giant insect would be horrifying. I saw a video of a leech swallow a worm whole. Those insects are terrifying. And this was a giant worm.
It's a disgusting life as well. Can you imagine? You're looking at it and going, I know these are living things, but these are disgraceful. Just like the way they treat each other. There's just no humane fucking way of like flies just fly around happy days. Suddenly they're caught in a web and the spider just goes, I'm gonna paralyze you and watch you die slowly. And you're like, wow, pure evil. What the fuck?
Yeah,
you know?
but you know, fuck flies.
Yeah. That's terrible. That's a terrible thing to say. Fuck spiders. Okay, sorry Eric, we went off on a tangent there about spiders. Dead Space. Yeah. One of the scariest games I've ever played.
Dead Space or PT. I will probably go with PT because in all honesty, I don't see you can't play that game again and master. There's no way because
you just can't play that game again.
You just you can't play the game again.
It's gonna become this like, do you know? It's gonna become like this kind of myth or legend. Like in years, like no, there was no PT.
The greatest thing about PT is like, not it. You know, it's. I think it's beyond a game. You know, like
it's more of an experience.
Yeah, everyone became a conspiracy theorist.
Right.
Trying to get past that, and I completed it twice, and I still have no idea how. And that's the thing that used to kill me. Like, and I used to be like looking up online, going, "Well, how did other people do it?" And like, we're all trying to like add in our own method, like trying to revert back to, and playing through it again to see which theories match. It's like, okay, I followed up to here and here, and everything worked, but the next few steps I tried that you mentioned, and they didn't work. Therefore, that's not right. So we're all trying to figure out what's the last puzzle, and to this day, no one knows.
How did anyone even kind of figure that out the first time?
That's what I'm saying. I did it twice, and I have no idea. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's fucking nuts. Like, but okay, so let's talk PT first, right? Because I think we were always going to bring it up. We have talked about it before, but in this, because it's the Halloween episode, we got to talk about it again. And I think it should be separated. It's its own thing because it's not a full length game, right? So it can't really be the scariest game as a whole. And actually, I'm curious. Like, do you think they could have kept that momentum up for a full game? I know it wouldn't have been a corridor thing, right? Obviously
it
not.
wouldn't have been. No.
That's not what I'm saying at all. But like, there was such a fucking that was a masterclass in pacing and in atmosphere and in timing. Like, it's the scariest experience I've ever fucking
They definitely
had,
could. Because like, have you ever played Layers of Fear?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
that kind of has a definitely not as scary, but it's a similar kind of thing. And that's for like a full length. So yeah, they could definitely. Yeah.
Would you have played it? No.
Yes, I know. I definitely would have. Just because
Play
like
PT,
that
but
was
not Resident Evil 2. PT is fucking. Oh my god, that's
It's
nightmare
scarier.
for you.
But here's my thing. Right?
Hide
Okay,
from PT. Nightmares get into the cupboard to hide from PT. That's what
I'm fine. Right, there's a few games that I cannot play. Like, I just cannot play, and because I find them so stressful and scary.
Yeah.
Outlast.
Yes.
Being one of them.
Oh, yeah.
I cannot fucking play that. Amnesia. No. Alien Isolation.
Oh, Jesus.
Not fucking
Christ.
happening.
So stressful.
And from what I've seen, etc., would be Resident Evil 2, because I can't handle the thing that's following me all the time, and I cannot take it down. I cannot kill it. Right? PT, you don't have to worry about that.
All you like the fear factor of PT is not the thing that's behind you, but the thing that's in front of you. It's your own willingness to step forward and face the fear. That's what makes PT scary. But the other stuff where you're just being chased all the fucking time and you can't do anything about it, it's like, no, this is unnecessary stress, and I have to do this for like 20 fucking hours. Go away, Xenomorph.
This sounds like a motivational speech. You know what I mean?
Does. He's right.
The thing you shouldn't be afraid of is the thing that's behind you, but what's in front of you. But if you have to be chased by something, nah, fuck that. Motivational speeches right there.
But for me, you've hit the nail on the head, actually, right? And like the only way, I don't think I would have got through Resi 2 on my own had I not had the amazing guide of Eric. Thank you, Eric. You got me through that game. You gotta get Adam through it so that he could experience it. But I don't like I typically don't really like combat in horror games, even though I said Resi 4 is like my favorite, right?
Yeah.
I would like games like PT, where the challenge of it is, do I want to keep playing? Am I like kind of brave enough to keep playing, or am I like, no?
And the psychological horror of it.
Yeah. Because like I played that a couple of times, even though it scared the shit out of me, and I couldn't get it out of my head. It was kind of like there's some horror movies that just have that kind of effect on me too, where it's like, it's really scaring me, but I can't get it out of my head. I can't stop thinking about it, and I just want to know more about it, and I want to fucking look up theories now about what was that creature, what did anyone else get out of it, and was it as it was presented, or is there something else going on here? And I love like big twists in horror movies. Really good ones tend to pull off really good twists as well and stuff. But what bothers me about some of the action ones, and I'm not writing them all off by any means, stretched imagination, but if it's like it's scary and it's challenging, and you keep dying, and then you keep re-seeing the scary thing, like the jump or whatever, just before the fight, it totally loses the fear, and then just gets to a point of annoyance. At least for me. I don't know if other people feel that way, but for me,
that's kind of what the first Evil Within was like.
Right, yeah. And so after a while, then you're like, it's no longer scary, it's just annoying. And I'm actually just getting annoyed at this game. I just want to push on to see the next interesting thing, but I can't get past this fucking challenge. And so, like, difficulty in horror games, I'm not really into, which is why I tend to play them on the easiest difficulty, if I'm being honest. And that's because playing it at all is the difficult part for me.
Yeah.
Like braving up to actually just face scary shit and scary atmospheres and jump scares and shit is the challenge for me, and then overcoming that challenge. So I'm not really into like a game where it's going to be scary and really hard to actually play, to the point where it's like, you've totally discouraged me from continuing. But that's what PT clicked at me a lot. Just walk down this corridor.
I prefer to be able to fight in a horror game.
Yeah, no, and I get that as well. Yeah, it's a good art, because I know there's a few friends who have said the same thing, where they're like, no, I mean, if you give me a gun, then I feel much safer going down that hall, right? So give us
I'm playing. You play Outlast, and you walk past, down the asylum or through the weird cult village thing in the second one, and you find, a stake or a fire axe. Now, I mean a steak is in a sharp stick. I don't mean the piece of meat. Or like a knife or something, and you're not going to pick it up. Yeah, I just thought I would like. And you're not able to pick it up. It's just like, you know what? There's a level of this that's just kind of unbelievable, I suppose.
Yeah.
Like, I know the game obviously is.
I know what you're saying. You're like if I was really there, I'd pick up a pipe or something.
Yeah, I pick up
to defend myself. Right? Yeah.
And I don't mind if the enemy can't die, but because consider, obviously PT is very different because the enemy doesn't really do anything to you.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need to pick up anything because you're not going to get hurt. But it's the suspense, it's the atmosphere, it's the lighting. It's you turn around the corner and you see Lisa standing at the other end of the hallway, and then you take a step and then the light turns off. You're like, fuck. Right?
Yeah, that's
it.
Stuff. Yeah, that's it. It's the timing of everything. It's the atmosphere, the pacing.
I think what makes PT so great, and things like the Slender Man game as well, like when that became kind of a phenomenon, is its link to reality as well.
Right.
So we get so kind of hooked up. It's like you said, Chris, it's like you get so fascinated with it, you can't stop thinking about it. So you want to read up on it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's it stepping out of its medium and into your world.
Right.
And action-based games, like horror games like that, don't really offer that. I feel they don't have that, because there is that sense of challenge, and then when you die, and it's like it has broken its illusion, and it's a game.
Yeah.
Whereas with the likes of P.T. and Slenderman, they kind of those are like little boogeyman stories that exist in your world. People are talking about them outside of the game, and it just feels real.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes them terrifying.
So I think, for me personally, PT would be the best horror kind of like experience. And I do wish that it had flourished into what it was going to be.
Yeah.
It would have been the first Silent Hill game that I actually. Oh, hold on, I say that I played the start of Silent Hill 1 actually once. But again, yeah, I haven't played nearly enough of any Silent Hill game to say I
Will you play the remake?
Will I play the remake? I'll wait and see how it turns out. It's probably. Do you think it's gonna be a remake of the first or the second one?
First one.
Really? Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
I
don't think Pyramid Head is in the first one, so yeah, that should be okay. Pyramid Head freaks me out.
I think I did another Watch Mojo.
Oh right, yeah.
It was that or just like a top 10, but it was like creepiest or scariest bosses in Silent Hill.
Right.
Silent Hill franchise. Some of them are just messed up.
Yeah. Silent Hill unsettles me, but I am so fascinated by it, and it's what's so fascinating to me is that if you go, so what is Silent Hill? And people give you fucking different explanations as to what the town actually is.
That's it again.
It's
like
so
that's it,
weird.
Stepping into our world again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because Silent Hill does deal with psychological horror.
Yeah.
As opposed to, Resident Evil is way more science fictiony in terms of its like evil corporation making bioweapons.
But it's also it's based on like Resident Evil is definitely inspired by like body horror and things like The Thing and
so is
that kind of stuff, right?
So is Silent Hill though. But
do you think so?
Silent Hill is delving more into the ghost stories side of things, because that's the thing. Like obviously both games come from Japan, and Japan, they are so obsessed with the like ghost stories and horror.
Right.
I'm not sure where that like fully came out of, when that emerged from Japan, but like even like the likes of The Grudge and stuff like that, like they are really mad into horror.
They were the first to do The Ring as well, weren't they?
Yeah.
I think The Ring is.
She was a. Oh God, that's the scariest thing ever. So creepy. Yeah. That image of just the girl with the long black hair and the white dress is so fucking terrifying to me.
Yeah.
God. Freaks me out. So putting PT aside, the other game then you mentioned there as like a full length game, scariest game ever played was Dead Space. And why? So what? Game. Yeah, that is a really fantastic game. And those first two games, I think,
that deals with both, I think, physical and psychological horror.
Yeah, I found a great way of like bridging that kind of stuff, and then going into like cosmic horror, like you just don't know what's out there in space.
Capturing that alien essence of being alone on a ship and being hunted by something.
Yeah.
Or in this case, a lot of things. God, it's
But there was loads of like fucking weird shit. Like I think the stuff that creeped me out the most about that game was like just stuff like, that bit you go down a hall and there's a guy like smacking his head off the. Just so the monsters were scary enough, right? But at that point I think I was okay with that. I experienced Resi 4 and a few other games with monsters and things. But just the weird, wacky shit people are doing, and the like blood messages, and then the singing of "Twinkle Twinkle Little Star," and those little touches that I hadn't seen before.
Yeah, I think there was like another point you go into like a med bay and you see a girl who's laughing while she's sawing a body, and then she just looks at you and then it saws her throat open and she just bleeds out.
Yeah, like what the fuck are you supposed to do with that?
That kind of stuff made Dead Space 1, I think, more special than the second one. The second one's good as well, but the first one in particular had way better atmosphere.
Yeah.
There's like, like what Doom 3 was trying to be, mixed with like the world building of BioShock.
Yeah.
In kind of Alien almost.
I think Dead Space. I think you're right. I think Dead Space is scarier than the second one. The second one, I suppose, just has a bigger like production value and stuff. And I would say that I think the second one is a little bit more intense. So the first one is scarier, I think, and it paces it better. But like I remember, like the intro to the second game had my heart racing. I remember, when you're running out in the straitjacket, everything's just coming, and you're just like, what the fuck is going on, and then you're just like, whoa, you didn't even ease me in. Like okay, let's get a gun, let's go. Like fucking hell. And that bit in the crash, holy shit.
Yeah. The babies.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Yeah. The second one is an obvious sequel,
like,
though, isn't it? Like, I mean, you
It
kind of
is,
expect that to be.
Yeah.
It's kind of bigger and
especially with the
bombastic.
Even that, like, so in the first one you have to take down, I think, is the red arc or the red marker, which is like this somewhat, it's like, it's whatever the size of it. But then with the second one, you gotta take down the green marker, which is massive. Oh, it's so much bigger. So like they really just went, bigger place with bigger monsters, bigger marker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's
equal stuff.
First one you have to take down the Death Star. Second one you have to take down the planet.
Do you know that's exactly what I was gonna say?
Really?
I was like the Death Star and then Star Killer Base. Yeah.
And then in the third one, the marker is inside the moon, and the moon is the marker or something like that. Or no, the moon is a monster or something. I don't know. The third one was awful. The third one was like, the first and second one was like, okay, this is like a proper horror like production, and then the third one was like a B horror slasher like college student film.
I thought it was interesting how like that series kind of had the same progression in terms of quality of game as like Modern Warfare for me. Like I think the Modern Warfare 1 is the best one. The second one is such an obvious sequel, and then the third one is like, what the fuck is this like?
Yeah, what are you doing? Do you know what though? Dead Space is a series I would love to see revived.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Like
they announced now on the next gen at some point there's going to be a new Dead Space, and I give it the treatment of like what's happened before happened, but like do something like God of War or Tomb Raider where you re-envision how it plays and all that kind of shit.
Yeah.
I would love it. Like I think there should be a more Dead Space. I don't think it should die just where it was the third one because it was such a flop. I think they should, because I think that
could be like a different character on like a rescue, possibly a rescue mission, like following similar to Alien stuff where you're following the distress signal and stuff.
Yeah,
it could be happening alongside one of the first few games, but because you're like a soldier, your weapons actually won't work. So you have to learn to adopt the miners' weapons that do work.
That'd be cool, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
I think Dead Space is a series that like don't let it die. Let it like bring it back in some way.
Yeah.
It was great.
I love that as well. That the weapons you were using were not your. They were still guns. They were mining tools, and they all had like a purpose within the mining. Or like the
you have to like find the right limb to remove in order to kill the necromorph.
So okay, moving on from Dead Space, Adam, what would you say is the scariest full-length game you've played?
That I've played.
Yeah, or experienced if you want.
Well, you see, like the
Air Force.
It's gonna go back to like Alien Isolation.
Okay.
I haven't played it. I have it
because it's
I've tried it, but I haven't played it because I do find it on edge. Like I can't get through that game, and normally when it's like, I'm not really feeling this game, I don't want to play it, I would consider that a bad thing. I think this is a fantastic compliment to Alien Isolation that I'm not willing to play that game.
Yeah, isn't that so weird though? You're like, they did such an incredible job. I'm glad I spent that money, and it's sitting there as a reminder of the achievement they did in creating that game. But actually, it is such a well-designed game.
It is. It really is. I really wish it wasn't as long. Like there are complaints with it because I think it doesn't need to be as long as it is.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
it is kind of the same thing the whole way through as far
I
as
would
like.
agree. I think it would be better if
well,
it was a tighter experience. Yeah.
So I
I've
did
seen the
play
end of
like
it.
I've played the Nostromo mission, which was like a DLC where you play as Ellen Ripley trying to escape from the end of the first Alien. I played through that, and that was enough for me to kind of go, this is incredible. I love this. This is so good. And little things like that was all that you needed. Really, was smaller missions like that. But
the design crew for that was absolutely spot on. Like, and the sound.
Yeah,
the
I
sound
just
team
love
as
the
well.
real
They-
retro future tech.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
and
amazing.
the music and sound effects that they had for it, like, it just really felt like you were stepping into the world.
Well, what I loved about it was because they were making all these really stupid aliens games,
Yeah.
like Colonial Marines and Aliens versus Predator, and you play it online and you go first person as the alien, and you're like, lads, what the fuck? Like, it's like, no, like, do you not understand what the appeal of Alien is? Like, I just hate when people make such stupid decisions. Like, let's make a Lord of the Rings game where you play as the fucking eagle. You're like, what the fuck are you talking about? No one wants to do that. Like, what are you talking about? So I just love that they actually sat down and went, what made Alien so good? And let's put that experience into a game. Obviously, you don't play as the alien. Why would you play as the alien? You play as the person trying to survive from the alien. That's your game, obviously. And just one alien, and that's enough.
So,
Holy fuck, is that enough?
there's
But
actually
they did make the AI is too good in it though.
Yeah. Fuck.
Like, you cannot get away from it. You cannot hide. Like, it will find you, and
Oh yeah.
it's stressful. It's
Yeah,
very
and
stressful.
the flamethrower after a while stops working on it.
Yeah.
I even found the androids fucking scary. I found them not scary, stressful.
Yeah.
Like, I even found them stressful. So I was like, the alien hasn't even come into it yet. I'm not ready for this shit. And I think I actually played up to, I was at my friend's house and he was playing it, and we played up to when Alien first comes into it. Then we played for about another 20 minutes. And then we turned the game off. And we're like, have you got anything lighthearted? I was like, oh my god, I'm so on edge. Like, I'm about to walk home in the dark. Come on, quick game of fucking Battlefield or Call of Duty or something.
I remember playing Alien Isolation. There was one time where there was one of those android guys walking around, but this was after Alien was introduced, so Alien could pop down at any moment, right? But for some reason, I kind of forgot about that because it was early into Alien being into it. So Alien would sometimes pop down, and, it was a bit hit and miss at the start. But I saw this android guy walking around, trying to again learn his pattern and stuff, and then I kind of went, sure, fuck it, like, I'll just throw a device known as a noisemaker, just to kind of distract him.
Yeah.
So I activate that, chuck that, the android walks over to it, and then all here's the vent, the sounds in the vent. An alien drops down right in front of me, right? But luckily he was looking the other way, so I was staring at his fucking arse, to be honest, with his tail in my face. And I was like, alright, where the fuck is a locker? And there's a locker beside me. I just kind of crawled into it. Let's just stay in here for a little while until he goes.
Did he find you?
No, but there was another time. I have so many fucking stories for this game. Where again I was in a hallway and Alien came down into the hallway and I was like, shit, I gotta hide somewhere. So I saw one little kind of passageway heading up the hallway and I went, fucking alright, go there. And I was trying to look around for something to hide in and there wasn't anything. And I was like, alright, I'll just back into this corner. That's what I did. I backed up and I was crouched. I was sitting there on some rubble in the dark in the corner and I was like, hopefully Alien just walks by this hallway, this passage, right? And he just keeps going, right? And he's walking. I just kept checking my yoke and I'd check it again. I was like, all right, just keep walking past because he was coming towards me. And then he turns around into the hallway where I am, through the passage. And he's around and then he looks right at me. And I'm like, oh, fuck. Okay, all right, let's do this again. And he just turns around and walks away. And I was like, holy shit. Holy shit, this guy didn't see me.
I have achieved invisibility.
Yeah.
I have the ability of staying so incredibly still that I'm invisible to the naked eye. So to add to that, then I'm gonna say the scariest game that I've ever played. I mean, they're up there, right? I'm not gonna say Alien Isolation. Like, I didn't play enough of Alien Isolation to say, because that's as much as I played of it. Got up to the first encounter, and 20 minutes after it, and went, "That's enough for me." They did an amazing job. 10 out of 10. Don't want to play it. But
Yeah.
I did, and I didn't play the whole thing, and I think I did say this before, but we did a night where we had done Until Dawn, and a few guys were over, and we swapped controllers, and then we were kind of like, oh, this was a great day, and the lads were like, oh, let's do another one. Oh, we do, and so we got Outlast, and so we played Outlast for the whole night, and we did the whole game. The other two guys played much more of it than I did, but I did play some, and we got through the whole game in that one night, and that was the scariest game, full-length game I have ever played.
Very, very similar.
That's so stressful.
Outlast kind of combines the two games that myself and Eric just mentioned, because it's got the traditional horror aspects that like would be present in Dead Space, but then the AI that stalks you and you have to try and run away from them and hide Alien Isolation. Yeah.
And even like the whole thing of like in Alien Isolation, obviously you do rely on this like sound monitor thing, but you have to be careful where you use it, right?
Yeah.
And in this one, it's your camera. It's the only way you're going to be able to fucking see through this horrible environment. But you can run out of
battery.
Oh, like it's relentless. It's relentless. And then you can hide under a bed and you can hear guys going, "I see you," and they like pull you out from under the bed and you're like, "What the fuck?" And you can't fight them and you're like, "This is just the scariest thing ever."
Yeah.
And there's some horrible characters in it as well. But yeah, and then I mean, like, okay, so it's kind of horrible that there's this stigma about mental asylums and that they're terrifying or haunted or really scary. But it's the Hollywood version of a mental asylum, right? So it's, it's not trying to depict mental asylums as these haunted, horrible places. But it's just that version of it, and it is fucking terrifying. It's really, you're on edge.
It's for the criminally insane, isn't it? It's a mental asylum for the criminally insane.
I think so.
Yeah. But you see, like that's another issue I would have with that game, right?
What is that?
Where first of all I get dragged and I'm not even able to kick and push and shove. I'm just dead. That's it. They grab you, you're dead, more or less. If you hide in a locker, let's say, because I think there was one time when I was playing it with friends as well, we did spend a lot of time in a locker. We didn't get past pretty much the first guy.
Okay.
Because he just stuck in our room, so we couldn't leave.
Yeah.
And that was it, like. And then on top of that, it's pitch black. How do they see?
Oh, it's so dark.
You know what I mean? It's
but they would probably be accustomed to it.
Yeah,
though,
and there's something supernatural in the game.
There is,
it is. Yeah, I knew about that. Yeah, I didn't know
it's actually
that.
Really cool because it's based on like they named this thing towards the end of the game. I remember, and suddenly we were like, so we went from just kind of going, oh, this is a scary challenge game, and like, oh fuck, we're shitting ourselves. Let's see, can we get past it? To eventually getting really engrossed into the story of it, and like like many successful horror stories, like there's twists and there's great stories, and then we ended up like Wikipediaing this thing. We're like, this is based on an actual myth. This is based on
a German.
It's a German kind of folk horror tale or something like that.
Yeah.
But it was really cool, and because they're drawing inspiration as well from like Nazi experiments and things, and that's sort of tied that kind of stuff together. But yeah, absolutely the scariest full-length game I've played. Again, I don't think we're claiming that these games are the scariest games ever. They might be.
Oh.
But they also might not be, so we're not saying that. I from listening to us, I'm sure you've gotten to grasp that we're not very good at horror games, but we do enjoy them as a genre. I will say, I think I prefer horror in games more than in movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I find with horror films, it's a bit cheap, I think.
Sometimes.
The scare factor is pretty cheap, and like there are some really good horror movies, obviously, but most of them I think just have that B movie quality to them, that kind of, or even the what do you call them, like the stupid slasher style films where they
teenagers are played by people way older than teenagers, and
the cast are always people that you probably starred in a porn film or something. You know, it's
Right,
like
yeah.
I did actually like Cabin in the Woods, like just absolutely took the piss
I've
out of
heard
all those
amazing
things.
about that movie.
But at the same time, they play it really well. Like the idea of like the someone attacks the monster, but then they drop the weapon. You know, like people always do that in slasher horror films. It's really, but in Cabin in the Woods, there's something in the weapon that electrocutes the person's hand. It gives them a little shock, so that's why they let go of it. So they actually explain all the tropes within this film.
That's cool.
While
That's
also
cool.
having it in it. So it's actually really.
I'm trying to brave myself to watch it. I don't know how scary or non-scary it is, but I have been told by many people that Cabin in the Woods is one of the best horror movies, and mainly because it's really meta.
I've seen the
Apparently
end of it and
construction of like the horror genre.
Yeah.
And it starts off as a typical slasher in the woods thing, and it turns out to be something totally different with like a huge twist. So I'm really kind of curious about watching it. I'll see it. Maybe that's what I'll do Halloween night. But anyway, that concludes our episode on horror games. We've listed our personal favorite horror games and then the ones that scared us the most. But please do get in touch. If you're watching on YouTube, jump into the comments. Let us know what is your favorite horror game and what's the scariest horror game you've ever played. And you can even throw in a few movies as well. Have you got any particular horror movies you would recommend that would scare the shit out of us? And then if you're listening on audio platforms, you can get in touch with social media to answer those same questions. Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at The Brothers Take. Let us know your favorite horror games and movies and TV shows. Throw them in as well. Do us a favor as well. If you've enjoyed this, please give the video a thumbs up. Hit subscribe and hit the notification bell so that you know when we're putting out new episodes. That is, of course, if you're on YouTube. And if you're listening to us on the audio platforms, hit follow. If you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever else you like to listen to us. Thank you so much for checking in again. We shall talk to you all next time. Bye-bye.
Bye now.
The Wall Rider. That's what it was called.
Yes, it is. That's right, the Wall Rider.
That's scary.
What?
The Wall Rider is the name of the thing in Outlast.
Ah, yeah.
But then, in Outlast, there's also a scientific reason for its existence.
Yeah.
So there's like this weird thing going on. Anyway, I shall stop recording.
Bye.